Hello, everyone that's just tuned in. What up? So, yeah, today I'm going to be doing a project breakdown of one of the album tracks. I'll be doing a few of these over the next few weeks, I think. Is it 13th? Yeah. Alright, we got a few people in here. So, yeah, I'll just play a bit of this track I'm about to break down. If you haven't heard it already, you can hear it on all platforms. It's called Petrushka. Yeah, so if you want to hear the full thing, you can go check it out. Yeah, very tribal. Alright, so I guess I'll start with the drums, because that's a very big part of this track. So there's always a percussive bed in the whole track. I wanted this to be a very percussive, tribally type track. And a lot of that power comes from these taiko drums. I think this is from a contact patch that I sampled. Starting off very do I use the I think I use the bias and tone to control the tone of this. Oh no. Yeah, I've got an auto filter on this group. So yeah, everything is sort of being driven by these taiko drums. And some shakers I recorded. But yeah, this drum track's pretty simple. Not too many layers. Yeah, just a hi-hat. And then the kick drum is something I do a lot. It's yeah, kick 2 for the transient part of the kick, and then I use an instance of Serum for the sub. Shout out to, I forgot his name, who made the Serum 98 skin. It inspired me to make a Ableton 98 skin, kind of. Just what you see me using. Yeah, so let me solo the kick. And then on that kick group, I've got this thing that I made called a transient morpher. You might have seen it in some of my other videos. Basically, it attaches an envelope to the band divider of two different bands, and then by messing with the decay and attack speed and other settings, you can get you can change the sound of your transients and stuff, and it helps it hit a little bit harder. I'll play it without. fills it out a little bit. I think with these settings, it's just using a little bit of saturation. There's no like manipulation of the transient happening at all. I'm just using it as a saturator basically right now. Yeah, adding a little bit of high end and taking out some mids. There were two resonant peaks in the kick that I wanted to make a little bit less pronounced. You can hear them when I take the EQ off. So yeah, the kick is always a really important part of any track like this. So I want to make sure I got it right. Yeah, there's also a little bit of a distortion sound going on. I think that's from the sample I'm using. If I mute the sub. Alright, so let's move on to the bass. So the bass is comprised of a few different elements all playing together. So I have this sub layer. Relatively simple. If you open up phase plant, let's make it a bit bigger. You know what? This might be an old version of the project. Hold on. Maybe not. Okay. Yeah, so all the sub is just a detuned saw wave with a filter on it. That's what got me confused because I thought I switched that out for another type of Reese. But anyway. So as you can see, it's pretty simple, just the detuned saw with a little tiny bit of spread even. And yeah, some distortion, a little bit more filtering going on, and also making it so there's like a resonant peak that moves with the pitch. And then a tiny bit of bit crushing to give it that fizz in the top end, and then a filter to take out the mids, and that's also moving with the pitch of the note. Just so slightly. And then, yeah, this is just making the bass mono. A tiny bit of saturation / distortion going on here. Some EQing to take out more of the mids and some harsh frequencies in the high end. And then this tape plugin that I use a lot. Yeah, this U80 Studio 800 is really great for just making things sound a little bit thicker and more present in the mix. And then this at the end, just so I can filter off the high end, or off the low end sometimes, when I'm doing like build-ups and stuff. But yeah, that's just one layer of the bass. Then there's this distortion layer. So I'll usually have one sub layer and then one layer that I'll distort a lot more, and then usually high pass the low end out of it. So slowly comes in. Eventually till it, you know, the filter opens up completely. detune saw wave again, with some reverb, more trash, sausage fattener turned up to 100. Yeah, some EQ and take out the mids, and then this plugin I use a lot just to blur the sound a bit. I can't explain it, but it's an FTT curve shaper. I don't know what you would call this, but it takes the sound, splits it into a bunch of partials, and then you can manipulate the partials in various ways. And just one effect of it is it sort of blurs the transients and blurs things a little bit, and I like to use that to, like, say, take a harsh digital sounding distortion and soften it up a little bit just to make it sound a bit more analog. It really helps. Let's read the comments. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't think there's any EQ that's the best, but I definitely think Pro Q 2 and 3 have the easiest interface to use. So I use those. And they sound clean as well. I mean, it depends on what you want the EQ to do. If you want it to add color, then Pro Q wouldn't be the one to use, but yeah, it's a good clean EQ. All right. What's this third layer of the bass? So I'm guessing this third layer is something a bit more stereo. Yeah, because so far these two bass sounds are very mono sounding, so I needed something to fill out the stereo signal as well. So I used FM8 for this, it looks like. Yep, just took two oscillators, panned them two sides and detuned them slightly. And yeah, pretty simple. Just a pedal, plug-in, filter, phaser. I love phasers. Multipass, which I use a lot. This is a trick I do a lot, is I ring mod the high end, but using the second band or a sub or something. So the low frequencies modulate the high frequencies, and that usually causes kind of like fake distortion sound, which is often a lot better to use in some circumstances than real distortion. You know, it's doing the same thing as distortion. When you're distorting something, the low end is going to affect the high end frequencies because it's sort of squashing everything together, and you hear that sort of fluttering in the high end when you distort something. So that's kind of what it's replicating. And then yeah, just more taking off the sub and getting rid of the mids. YouTube has the nicest, friendliest, most most well-adjusted people on the internet. God. Let's see. Yeah, let's go through the other synth elements. So, almost got a mosquito. Yeah, so for most of the drop, it's pretty bass heavy, not much happening in the mids until this section comes in. And I guess it says external instrument, and I'm pretty sure I used my Yamaha TX81Z. Let me see if I can pull the camera so you can see. Is it gonna reach? Hold on. Come on. No. Hopefully you can see it there. Yeah. Just under that. It's on the bottom of that rack. Yeah, it's just an FM synth. It's really good for making sort of belly textures. I can just do this, can't I? Oops. Oh, there he goes. All right. Cool. So yeah. Not much happening in the actual synth itself if I take off all the group processing. Yeah, it's really not much going on. So yeah, a lot of the sound is happening here. Gate, I'm guessing just because there was a lot of background noise in the synth. Some filtering, just to gradually filter it up. Using OTT to squash it down because I wanted it to be more in the background. So halfway through this, it sort of changes to this like really distorted texture, and so I take this whole group and then at some points I distort it with a sub and then take the sub out with an EQ to sort of do that distortion effect that I was doing in a fake way with the multipass. But this way I can like add the bass in at some points and then have that distort with the mids at some points. Take this EQ off, you'll hear the bass that I mixed it with. So yeah, it's pretty simple synth-wise. Most of the energy comes from the bass. But yeah, what is going on here? Yeah, it's a really gradually building track. Not a lot of elements come in until the breakdown. And then I have this vocal. And yeah, that's just a cappella. I wonder if anyone in the chat can guess what the a cappella is from. I'm not going to say it out loud, but I want to see if anyone can figure it out. Well, it's a good sign if nobody can figure it out. I don't think... Okay, good. It's not in the file title. But yeah, I just felt like it needed some kind of atmospheric vocal to fill the background. Also, a huge inspiration for this track came from One For You by James Holden, which is a really old Holden track that I really love. And if you listen, you'll hear where a lot of the inspiration came from. Yeah, so then I introduce this little synth pluck. Yeah, it's distorting a tiny bit. I didn't want it to be too clean, because yeah, I wanted it to sound like an old synth. And for this I'm using Locomotive, which is a free synth that I guess I just loaded up randomly. Oh, there's more. On top of that is this. So yeah, pretty simple. Just most of that sound is coming from the delay and the ducking of the reverb and the delay. If I took this off. Yeah, this does a pretty drastic change. This is a pad. I really like this pad patch. Yeah, I think this is just some stock phase plant sample, and yeah, heavily flanged and filtered. But yeah, I really like the way that this pad sound turned out. So yeah, it's really just about these bass layers and what's more bass. Yeah, I guess I wanted a different bass layer for different sections. So like the breakdown will have a different sound to it. some automation. Oh yeah, that's right. I turned off a bunch of stuff, didn't I? Where is it? Yeah. Something I think that really works well with this drop is this delayed vocal that just keeps on going throughout the build up and then the drop. Without it, it just sounds a little bit empty. Yeah, I always like drones happening in the background at important moments. There's stuff happening in the bass bus, but only at certain moments. Yeah, just pulling out the mids, and then yeah, sometimes I want to filter things, and then the utility at the end to automate volume. Not much else to the bass bus. Yeah. I guess we can go through the effects bus now. I used a lot of effects from my MS-20 recorded. This doesn't sound like it's from my MS-20. I don't know why it's labeled that. But anyway, that's probably from a sampled instrument I made. And then just some effects layers, like this clap. If I drag this out, you'll see it's just a bunch of random sound design as usual. There's a bunch of different variations. Oh, this one just sets 2. But noise to fill out the energy. But yeah, effects are a big part of this track as well. It fills out a lot of the energy in this. Like, yeah, and these are all parts of long sound design experiments. With lots of delay on it, I suspect. And yeah, taking out the low end. Yeah, sometimes I like to automate the threshold of a compressor to simulate something moving away, rather than just lowering the volume. I find that works really well sometimes. Yeah, that's something I used to do a lot when I first started producing. Is I'll just take a loop, chop it, and that would be my drum roll. Put loads of delay on it, and I really liked those sounds, and I missed them. So yeah, I've been using those kind of things a lot more. I think I'd do it again here. Yeah, I don't really use return tracks when it comes to actually arranging out a track. I'll use return tracks maybe for sound design and stuff, but I find it's way too, like, for the way I mix, it's way too complicated to have other channels that aren't in groups. I like to keep everything in groups, so if I want something that's sent to an effect, I'll just copy the audio from whatever I want sent to the effect and put it in a new channel instead of using a return track. Any other questions? If there's anything else I missed. Do I give the drone its own little spot in the frequency? Not necessarily, maybe subconsciously, but because the drone is usually so far in the background, I don't really think of it in terms of frequency placement, just making sure that it's squashed back in the background enough that it doesn't poke out too much, and then I can put it whatever frequency I feel is right. I don't know if that has to do with what other elements are happening around it, but it probably has something to do with it. How to come up with the name? It's the name of my old cat in London. Why gray? I don't like coloring my DAW too much. I like having it being a utilitarian looking, you know, it doesn't have to look like a spaceship, basically. I want it to just look like it works. Yeah. I really miss being able to have a Windows 95 looking operating system. They got rid of that in Windows 10. Pretty pissed about that. Well, if there aren't any other questions, the album art, the inspiration for the album art came from my brother made a bit of concept art a while ago, and we took that idea and changed it around. How long did it take me to finish this track? At one point, I had this Max for Live patch that actually told me how long I spent on a project. It looks like I got rid of it on this because it wasn't. It was fucking up the project. I think I spent probably. I mean, in total, maybe 20 hours on this. It didn't take me that long. I know that. Yeah, there's a mixer window, but I don't really use it that much. I think it's fine mixing with just these little squares or rectangles instead of having all this. I mean, what's the difference really? You're just changing the level of tracks. But useful feature of this is you can turn on this feature where you can see all the different plugins, which is really useful. But yeah, I usually keep it in arrangement mode. Any song similar to Motion Sickness? Not really. For little one-shot sounds or drone backgrounds around the smaller elements, do you insert as you create the song or find it easier to get the bones down and insert everything later on? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I usually add details later on in terms of, like, you know, the effects and stuff. Effects I usually add last, but sometimes I'll try and create everything as a complete idea at first. It depends what I want. What's important about the track. If it's really important that the track is like super like sound porny, you know, like it has to be like really like sonically rich. Then I'll start adding effects earlier, but most of the time I'll try and get the musical idea solid first. Would you say you were in a generally happier mood making this music? Not necessarily. Definitely was in a better mood after I finished it. But yeah, it's usually the opposite that's true. It's usually the more uplifting a track is, the less happy I was when I made it. Because I want to make something happy to cheer myself up. When I'm happy, I want to make something hard and angry, usually. So if I'm making really hard, aggressive music, it's probably because I'm doing pretty well in my personal life. I'll do another track breakdown soon. Not sure when. Yeah, I don't like using a ton of layers. I don't like using few layers than I have to, but I don't like using more than I have to either. If I can get the sound I want with 3 layers, then I'll use 3. If I can get it with 1, I'll use 1. But most of the thing with layering is you get like the contrast between different types of elements. So you have something that's more mono, you layer it with something that's wider, or something that's dry with something that's more wet, or whatever the contrast is. That's what layering is useful for. Yeah, the beginning and definitely gave off Christmas vibes at the start because, yeah, it's very Christmassy, isn't it? What was the chord progression of the pads? Yeah, it's a really, really simple chord progression. All it is A minor and D minor. Or is it? Yeah, I pitched it down, so it's an E. I think it's an E minor. Or is it in B minor? Two steps, so it's in B minor. So yeah, just B minor and E minor, but it's these little, decorations of the progression that make it really nice. It could just be, da, 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 and then it would be pretty boring, but these. Yeah, they help it move along nicely. So it's really just enforcing what these synths are doing. Yeah, I really like the way those two layers play off each other with the one that's filtering bandpass filter. It's something that I heard trance producers do a lot back in the day, like the famous track Synesthesia is like that. So yeah. Yep. The only thing really active on my master is Elevate. And Insight is just my monitoring for my EQ and stuff. Spectrum Analyzer and Spectrogram. My goal with mid-side saturation. Well, sometimes I want to just saturate the mids a little bit to bring it out in the mid channel, and leave the stereo information alone because I want that to be left alone and clean. Again, it's like creating layering within a channel, basically. And that's why I don't use a lot of layers, is because a lot can be achieved with effect racks. Like, yeah, the mid-side saturate I have here. This effect rack, like I'm layering things with itself, processed in different ways. So I don't actually need that many layers. Nice. I'm glad I've inspired someone. What else can I talk about? It's this layer. There it should be a making of Deep Inside already on the internet. So just search YouTube, I think. It should be up there. Maybe not. Maybe it was online, and maybe it was on my Twitch. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna say where the vocal sample's from, because nobody can guess where it is. And if the person I used it finds out, then I might have to clear it, which I didn't do, so I'm not gonna say. Where did I start with this track? I think it was the Yamaha TX81Z synth line, this thing. Yeah, I started with the Belly FM sound, and then eventually moved on to like bass sounds and stuff. Yeah, I think I started this, yeah, I think it should be in here. Yeah, these are the two loops I started with. And I'm chatting out my ass. Yeah, I didn't start with that at all. Probably just started with the drums and the yeah, makes sense. I started with the drums and the bass, which are the two most important parts. I thought I'd started with the synth part, though. I'm wrong. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about this track. But I guess I could take this opportunity to go check out Stratus Fest. It's a big Minecraft event that I'm helping to organize, and I'm playing a big album set at. So go to www.stratusfest.com or tickets.madzu.events, either one. Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys whenever I decide to do another project breakdown, which should be fairly soon. I'll do a few of these, so yeah. Alright, I'll see you guys later.